Now you may get the answer, nothing. And that's okay. And then read it again aloud a third time. You know, we are Trinitarian, threes for everything, right? Read it again aloud a third time. Sit in silence again, as much silence as you can tolerate. And then ask yourself, is God asking me to do something? Try it. See what you hear. And then make an appointment with God to do so on a daily basis. Maybe you need to write it in your day timer or put it on the most important piece of paper in my life, the sticky note. Stick it on your refrigerator. Or write it on your hand. You know, that's a real famous thing these days. Someplace where you'll see it and remember it. But make an appointment with God every day. Same time. Same place. Because if you show up every day, God will show up as well. To be a mystic Christian also has a second part. There is the hearing what God is saying. There is the listening to Jesus. But there also is that call to do, that call to be, that call to act. So the story that we heard this morning is not just up on the mountaintop. I mean, that's a great story, and we'd all like to just stay there with Jesus. Right? I would. Just be up on the mountaintop. But the story has a second part. They came down off the mountain and into the world. They were called to do something. Well, they were there and they met this father. And he had his son who was very ill. Maybe epileptic, maybe he was possessed by demons, whatever the case. And the man wanted Jesus to heal the son. And then the man throws the kicker in there, you know. And these guys over here, they couldn't do it. I asked your disciples to heal my son, and they couldn't get the job done. So I'm asking you to heal my son. And then Jesus says something that we don't really like to hear. Jesus was very un-Jesus, you know. We all want Jesus to be nice and sweet and kind and never say anything that was foul, you know. Then Jesus drops the bomb on them. He says to the disciples, how much longer do I have to put up with you failures? And then he heals the child. Now, I want to throw out a possibility here. I think the best thing the disciples ever did was to fail. I think the best thing those disciples ever did was to fail. Because you see, we believe in a God that finds strength in weakness, in a God who finds life in death, a God who finds success in failure. We have to embrace failure in order to be in the presence of Jesus. Even to hear the harshness of what Jesus might say. Now I have this friend that's not a priest. I actually have friends that aren't priests, you know. And this friend of mine is looking for a job in higher ed. I'm not sure really why, but anyway. He's looking for a job in higher ed. And so he asked if I would be a reference. And I'm thinking, dude, you don't want me to be your reference for higher ed. That ain't going to cut it very well, you know. My reputation isn't that good anymore. He said, oh, no. You'd be a great reference. I'm like, oh, okay. So then he sent me a job description of a job that he's applying for. And he said, you know, hey, I think you'll find this really interesting. And I almost didn't read it because I thought, you know, I'm just not interested in that anymore. I'll be your reference. I just don't want to read your job descriptions, you know, whatever you're doing. But, you know, he's a good friend, and so I said, okay. So I read it. And in this job description, There was something that was unique that I had never seen before. The people who wrote the job description said they were looking for a leader who had suffered a significant failure in their life. They're looking for a leader that's willing to admit that they had suffered a significant failure in their life? Yes. And they wanted that leader to be so comfortable and so vulnerable about the failure in their life that they would be willing to teach others what they had learned. To teach these people what they had learned. So that they could be stronger from a leader who knew failure. That would be a great sign. We should put it right out in front of our church. We welcome every big flop and failure in the world. If you have failed miserably, you'll fit in really well here with us. That's what God is looking for. That's what it means to be in the presence of Jesus. To acknowledge that, yes, I have failed. And that will be what will lead you into the world of being a mystic Christian. Because when you can admit your failures and be upfront with them, you can hear what Jesus has to say. And then you can hear what Jesus might be calling you to do about it. Lent begins on Wednesday. It's Ash Wednesday in just a few days. I call you to be the kind of people that will take up the challenge to be present to Jesus each day. Take the daily reading. Take the devotion that we've offered. Read it out loud. Hear what Jesus is saying to you. Sit with it. And the reason being is, I cannot be complete unless you, every one of you, are listening to what Jesus is saying to you. We cannot all hear the Word of God without each other. Sit with the Word. Listen to what God is saying to you. And share it. Your successes and your failures. God will speak if you show up. Amen.